Hello there, you beautiful people. My name is Willow, and welcome back to Supreme Commander Forged Alliance Forever for a 4v4 team matchmaker game played on the oh-so-amazing map Forgotten Archipelago. And today we have two teams, the red team in the north, or Team 1, and the blue team in the south, or Team 2, who are here to have a Rock'em Sock'em Robots match in space. Well, not really in space. They teleported from space. It's complicated. Okay, let's go ahead and start with player introductions, starting in the east with the Maroon Aeon Best Faction going first air, and his name is Kurdate. Kurdate. That's what we're going to go with as we move on to the west with the Red Cybran going first air as well. Lots of first air going on here. And his name is Terminator619. There is no T, so he's not a Terminator. And of course, down to the south, we have ourselves an Orange Seraphim Ew going first land, and his name is Ill-Tempered. I hope we get some salt in the chat from this lovely, lovely man. And then up to the northwest, we have ourselves a yellow UEF going first air, and his name is Karma. We got Karma. As we move on to the southern team with the dark blue Seraphim going first land. His name, of course, Chiza. He was in the last cast as well. And then over to the east with the light blue Cybran going first land. His name is More's Pepsi. His name is Pepsi. And then we have ourselves a purple Seraphim going first land, and his name is Food Man Steve, also in the last cast, and was on the same team as Chiza. Interesting. As we move on to the Cyan UEF going first land, and his name is, of course, Amsterdam. And that's all of our players. We have a very interesting start to this match, and of course I got a new mod that I need, oh, wow, okay, that's annoying. Alright, I have to keep that open. We have 12.2 thousand reclaim for these players to scoop up, and we have a very interesting map. It's not a lot of landmass whatsoever, so these players gonna have to be creative with the way that they approach land control. It's going to be an island hopping campaign, and of course getting mass extractors, there are plenty of them, but they're going to be very difficult to hold, so we're going to have to see how that shapes up. Also, early on, we have a lot of players on Team 1 going first air, which means that they should have relatively good air control and maybe even some early bombers out, but we also have a decent number of air units now coming out from the southern team's bases as well. And we also have an interesting play coming out from Ill-Tempered. He's walking his commander over to this larger island here. There's only 3 mexes and a Hydro, but does have a decent amount of reclaim here, about 500 for him to pick up there. And this is an aggressive play, so I'm pretty down with it. And of course, one thing that is very important to me and to everybody watching this, down below there is a button. It says subscribe. If it's red, it's very ugly. It's very unsightly on your screen. You should change that. You should click it. It turns gray. Also, there's this thumbs up button. There's also a thumbs down. You can click that one. It doesn't do anything anymore. But there's this thumbs up button, and if you click on that one, it turns blue, and blue is better than gray, and gray is better than red. So, colors. As we have ourselves a T1 bomber out from Terminator, going to be spotted out very, very early on. Let's go ahead and track its progress, though, as it's going to be the first real attacking unit out onto the map for us today. And it's just kind of plotting along, it's living its best life right now. Just look at that. It's living its best life. What is it going for? I think it's going for that engineer right there. Oh, it's going to try and get both the engineer and the radar. What a sweaty play. Does he get both of them, though? He does indeed manage it. Getting both the engineer and the radar and stopping the building of an AA. And the bomber continues to rain terror down upon the map. And he does still have a scout out. He even has an interceptor to try and protect. He seems as though he's going to go for this engineer, trying to expand out to this small 3-mex island. Already up to 2 kills. Gonna be now at 3. Could also kill off these 2 engineers that are already right here for killing for this island as well. Trying to be expanded to by Amster Doom. And of course, in comes the bomber, gonna take another swing and get another hit. There is another engineer there that he could very easily scoop up, and he's really slowing down the expansion efforts coming out from these players. He's gonna do very well for himself. Does have that bomber get shot down, but slowed down Amsterdam, slowed down Pepsi, slowed down Foodman Steve as well. So interesting things to look at. Very good bombing out from that Zeus. He's gonna go into the Zeus Hall of Fame, which is something that doesn't exist, but should. Somebody should go through all of the casts from me, Guile, Duelist, Derp, and just start naming all of the T1 bombers that do very, very well, and put them into like a Hall of Fame. Have like tiers to a Hall of Fame. Entry is like, I don't know, 4 or 5 engineers. And like the top of it is, I'm pretty sure I've seen a game where a T1 engineer got like 30 or 40 T1 engineers. Like a T1 bomber got 30 or 40 T1 engineers, which was crazy. And we're going to speed it up a little bit here. We have a lot of bombers out. We have some transports roaming around. Transport out over here from Terminator going for this small island to the east. But it's going to be relatively slow until these players get into the Navy. You're not really able to enact much damage with air early on. I mean, you do have bombers and such, but both sides are going to have decent numbers of interceptors relatively early on. And we're going to be waiting for those naval battles to kick off. T1 bomber tier list video? Yeah, that would be very fun. I would do it, but I'd have the issue of I don't have enough time to go look through and find all the best T1 bombers. If somebody organized it for me, I'd do it. Went through and found the best bombers from all my casts. As over here to the east, that transport, which I thought was going for this island, and it kind of did, it dropped 1 engineer, is just gonna die as it tries to drop over here. The engineer doesn't die? Oh, that's dirty. Oh, that's so dirty. Oh no, that glitch just, oh, it's so dirty. That glitch just screwed Amster Doom so hard. Oh man, somebody needs to... Somebody bring this up to the balance team. That's unbalanced. You do everything right and you still get punished. T1 bombers up here to the northwest. Killing off... Wow, there's already a T2 mechs on this island. Killing off quite a little bit over here. Getting a lot of damage down. And in fact, going to win the air fight on top of all this. Maybe won't be able to keep all of his bombers alive, but... Nevertheless, pretty good there out from... Chiza with the T1 bomber harassment here. He's going for that T2 mechs, it would seem. Or no, just going for engineers. If it can manage to kill off this engineer before it finishes off that turret, that could be huge. I don't think it's going to manage it. Nope, it's not. So that turret going to shoot down that bomber. Over here we have T1 submarines trying to kill off an unbuilt point defense. He's going to get it. As we are yet again on this kind of slow burn phase, 20-kilometer naval maps. They don't have too much going on in the early game, but still got to cover it. Can't just get past it. T2 now on the way for ill-tempered. And all of these mexes that were captured are going to be killed off now by Amsterdam, who is just going to send his comm to secure that area. But that is going to be a boon to Terminator, who I'm sure those extra, what was it, 2 times 4 is 8? Extra 8 mass a second, that's a T2 mech's worth of income, and I'm sure he was happy to abuse it while he could. He's already at full T2 mexes on his main island and hasn't really expanded, so that's kind of just his lot in life right now. Very far ahead, I would say, of his opponent Pepsi, as he was about 10 mass a second ahead, and he is working towards T3 air. Also getting up some hives and a T3 mex. He's going to be very far ahead once that finishes. Very nice plays coming out from all these players. Everybody playing at a decent level. The rating range, average rating is about 1,000. We have 2 higher rated players for each team in Foodman Steve and Pepsi, as well as Terminator and Ill Tempered. And then we have 2 players that are a bit lower rated, but not super low rated, as in Karma and Kurdate and Chizza, as well as Amsterdam. Amsterdam managing to reclaim this island, make it his rightful property. And the map has really split along this line very evenly. Both sides doing very well for themselves. Neither side falling behind very quickly in the early game. T3 Air finished up first for Pepsi, but he's not going to be able to get anything other than just that scout off for a little while. T3 Air also has now finished up for Terminator, as well as a T3 Mex, and that means he's the only player consistently over 100 mass a second at 124. As over here to the middle of the map, we have our first destroyer on destroyer action, and everybody's a winner because no matter what happened, it was a Seraphim destroyer dying. And in fact, the Seraphim destroyer about to be backed up by an Exodus, so the team with the Aeon is doing better, and that's all that matters. Ill-Tempered might want to be a little bit careful. His comm is relatively exposed, but also could think about just throwing his comm further south and being very aggressive with that Seraphim commander he has out on the field. Destroyer out from Kurdate, doing very well for himself. He is 2, in fact. Gonna kill off all these submarines without any issue. Over here to the northwest, we do have T1 submarines going up against a Valiant. The Valiant will win that. Not quite as handily as Exodus do. The torpedoes on a Valiant don't feel that strong, honestly. And also, they are managing to hit the... Looked like they were hitting the land there for a second. These 2 T1 torpedoes, or submarines, doing very well against this Valiant-class destroyer. And Chizza just being very aggressive, really putting the screws to Karma. And the Destroyer and T2 spam coming out from Kurdate doing very well. Has more than his opposition, which is, of course, Pepsi. Oh, wait, no, not Pepsi. Foodman Steve, who is honestly under threat of just losing his naval production very early on. Really wants to avoid that, starting to throw up T2 torpedo launchers in a reactive defensive style. A cruiser and 2 Exodus now out on the field for Kurdate, trying to keep them back as far as possible, but a lot of economic damage has now been done. I think a strap bomber came out from Terminator and killed off these 2 mexes. I didn't quite catch it if it did, as it would have been shot down quickly by the Air Force out from Pepsi. As over here to the north, floating little douchebags of danger, the Zooies, making their way downtown walking fast, and Karma is very unhappy about it, as he's about to lose an almost upgraded T2 Mex, and he's just been under constant threat out from Chizza, who's just played a very good early game so far, even sending some mass to Foodman Steve to try and save him from an eventual naval lock. And Foodman Steve now in a rough position, as he's going to lose all of his naval production here at the 17-minute mark or so. And this is going to leave a lot of reclaim, is the only saving grace here, is that there's 7.8 thousand reclaim here, and as long as Foodman Steve doesn't just get ejected from the game, he can definitely take this area over and get a lot of reclaim out of it. Speaking of reclaim, up here to the northwest, there's really not all that much, only about 1,000 dropped over here. Or I guess 2,000 to 3,000. I'll just give it all there. And it's really set behind Karma, who is the second lowest economy, right behind Foodman Steve, who is really in a rough position right now, about to lose the shield protecting his T2 power to Zooey's. And Foodman Steve is in a struggle bus, and it is really a rocky road ahead. He's losing all of his economy. I mean, he might just die outright here to the destroyers. Torpedo bombers now coming out from Pepsi to try and stem the bleeding, as well as the Navy out from Amsterdam, trying to shut down the Navy of Kurdat and Ill-Tempered combined. And this northern team really just doing very well on every front, except for over here, where the Zooey spam out from Ichiza gonna really hurt Ill-Tempered. He's doing so well in the south with the combined forces of Kurdate, but now his economy is also gonna be cut down at the knees, much like Foodman Steve. And Ichiza looking very strong in this game. So is Kurdate. These two players in the corner really playing a strong game. Ill-Tempered also doing well for himself. Foodman Steve having a very, very tough game right now. Pepsi is doing all right on air, but he's behind, or no, he's ahead on mass generation. He's managed to slingshot back into the lead. So he should be doing very well as far as producing a lot of air forces very quickly. Foodman Steve now sending mass over to Chiza. But Foodman Steve is defeated in all but name. He's still alive, but is this a life worth living? Is what you have to ask yourself when you're thrown into these situations. And now Kurdate is starting to push back and get in towards the production line of Amsterdam. And if that happens, that could be an absolute disaster for Team 2, as it just seems that they're falling apart everywhere except for where Chiza is. The air is going all right as well. I would say almost assuredly air domination is now in the hands of Pepsi. Nope, they have even numbers of ASF. I'm just wrong. I can't count at a glance, apparently. But in comes the ASF for Pepsi, and he just gets a beautiful first turn, and that's going to decide the entire air fight. Oh my, they had 25 when they began. They both had 25. He lost 2 ASF in that air fight, and Terminator is now down to 14. I mean, he's been building them at the same time. Like, that is ridiculously good air fight coming out from Pepsi. Foodman Steve is needing somebody to not stall. I'm guessing he's talking about Chiza installing mass. Chiza going for Yasau's at 21 minutes. That's a very spicy play. I think I would rather see him go for battleships right here, though. Yasau's are very micro-intensive and can be very powerful, but they're not strong as 1 or 2 units. 1 battleship is huge. And he's already paid for 2 Yasau's pretty much. He could have had a battleship for almost that same cost. Let's just go ahead and check. 3,000 mass versus 9,000. 3 Yasau's is the same as a battleship, but 3 Yasau's doesn't give you the surface destruction that a single battleship does. But we will have to see. He's the first player to get to T3 Navy, I believe. And nope, T3 Navy has now been achieved by Kurdate, and he's starting to build a Omen class battleship, I believe. Yep, Omen class. I always confuse the picture for the Omen and the Kiefer. I should just assume it's an Omen every time. Nobody builds Kiefers. Aircraft carriers are just something that I like to build, apparently. As over here to the east, I'm joking about that. I know a lot of people build aircraft carriers. Shush. Cruiser going down, and Kurdate is just Whoa! That's a bunch of Vespers. Oh, Amsterdoom's dead. Amsterdoom, you lived a good life, but you're gonna die. Yep, that's a very dead UEF commander. First of many to fall this game. I mean, not really. There's only one more that could fall. The two UEF players in this game really getting bullied hard. Yathzau's out on the field. The good news is that the Yathzaus are going up against... Well, the UEF Navy will really struggle with the Yathzaus, but I would love to see a battleship instead of these as well. He's up to 3 Yathzaus. Could have had a battleship for the cost, and now torpedo bombers coming in. And that Yathzau gonna lose most of its HP to 4 torpedo bombers, which cost significantly less. That's why I was worried about that. Over here to the east, lots of torpedo bombers are now out on the field for Pepsi. Strat bomber gonna go down to the ASF. Oh no, it maybe not. Yep, there it goes. Pepsi doing very well in the air game. But the naval game is just collapsing. Chizza is it. We have some Navy now being produced by Pepsi, but he's got a lot on his plate to deal with right now. Terminator also has a large naval fleet now here in the middle, mostly T1. But Pepsi sitting on the strongest economy in the game. Wouldn't be surprised to see him go for something spicy like a nuke here soon. As we are getting into that stage of the game, 25 minutes in. Let's go ahead and slow this down just a little bit. Get it back to normal speed. Foodman Steve has managed to hold on to this area of his base for so long, but now with more concerted effort coming out from Terminator, you would think that he's just going to kind of lose this area in a few minutes. Maybe even shorter. Broadsword out from Karma. Kurdate with the first battleship on the field, now starting to sail southward. And over here to the west, we have a large naval engagement going on. Chizza going up against multiple different navies. And he's not looking too worse for wear for doing it. $10,000 mass in this area, though. Needs to be careful not to completely lose a naval fight here. How many torpedo T3 submarine hunters does he have? He has 4 right now. He has lost one somewhere then. Or maybe not. Nope, he hasn't. That one's just on very low HP. And the naval fight gonna go the way of Chizza. And that's gonna be huge. He's gonna be able to get in here and deal some more big damage down onto Ill-Tempered. And over to the east, we have more Navy encroaching, as well as Hover. Love to see these Asylums and Ascendants mixed in now by Kurdate. Where did that Omen go? It's heading down south. Looks like they want to put pressure onto Pepsi. And to the west, it just seems there's an Atlantis on the way. That could be pretty good against the Yathzaus, but it's gonna be a difficult battle now with Chizza getting T3 Navy so early. The big thing about these Yathzaus is if you have the things to counter them, if you have a bunch of destroyers, particularly not the UEF destroyer, a bunch of any other faction's destroyers, you can deal with the Yathzaus pretty easily. He's only lost 1 so far, but they're getting a lot of value. The issue, though, comes whenever you have just like a bunch of battleships or something. Yathzaus tear through those. So needs to be careful with that Omen class wherever he sends it, not to come into contact with the Yathzaus out from Chizza. As by... I don't know why I was going by. I was like, as by the way, is what my mind was going to. And I was like, that sentence doesn't make sense. Oh, man. Over here to the southeast, the UEF Navy coming out from Pepsi is managing to ward off the aggression coming out from the combined forces of Terminator and Curdate. And the aggression out from Chizza paying dividends. He does seem to have lost... Nope, he still has 3 sub-hunters. Is he still just building those? Nope, he is up to battleships now. I'm glad to see it. That's an aircraft carrier. I don't know how I feel about the aircraft carrier. I would like more battleships. I don't know why I'm critiquing Chizza. I just feel like Chizza is the main hope for his team. So I just have to root for him because his team has been collapsing on this eastern side, even though Pepsi's doing very well. And Ill-Tempered has played a very good game. Like, when you just compare him to Foodman Steve, he's just having a lot more success. He is struggling, but not quite as hard as his contemporary. Is that the right word, contemporary? It might be. It might not be. Who cares? You all aren't grammar Nazis. As Exodus class out from Curdate gonna meet a cruel fate. And I keep to rhyme to everybody's chagrin. I couldn't come up with an 8 word. I mean, I guess I could say to everybody's hate, but I'm not a rapper, okay? Oh man, this cast is off the rails. We ain't on the train no more. Over here to the west, we do have a Neptune class out from Karma, but unfortunately this Neptune class is gonna be a day late and $1 short because battleships deal with that, and there's already a battleship on the way. And also Yatsows deal with that. It was countered before it ever even got into the field. Atlantis about to finish up now for Karma, first experimental of the game. We have a Scathis on the way for Pepsi. That is a early Scathis. I mean, if he builds it, it'll be good. He's sitting on such a huge economy, 600 mass a second. He can build it relatively quickly. But needs to make sure he's throwing enough build power at it. Is now going to throw the hives onto there. How does that affect his mass? Oh, that stall is brutal. How much of that stall is mostly going to be these hives and these SCUs? But if he wants to stall through it, he can stall through it. He's going to lose air control for that, though. But Chizza is doing very well at getting his own Air Force up. Pepsi sitting on 102 ASF. Chizza sitting on 31. Terminator sitting on 100. So overall air control still in the hands of Team 2. He's continuing to build up battleships now. He's going to have a very strong T3 force, but doesn't have very many frigates. Does have a lot of factories now in the front building frigates and destroyers. So going to have a very strong armada. Needs to work on his income, though, does Chizza. And on the other side, Curdate now going for a Tempest. What happened to his Omen? It's still down here. It's got 1 rank of veterancy, but it's managed to lose a lot of HP. Torrance now coming out. His economy is doing a little bit better than Chizza's. I feel like these two players in the corner are the biggest impacts right now to what's going to go on in this game. Them and Pepsi as well as Terminator, very important. But Karma, Foodman Steve, and Ill-Tempered not really going to be in very strong positions for a long time, honestly. The Atlantis has come out. I don't know if the Atlantis beats 3 sub-hunters. Although I don't know if he has 3. He only has 2. Might be 2 sub-hunters. They just killed a Cooper behind the Atlantis. It's kind of funny that they didn't see the Atlantis but saw that Cooper. Double Neptune coming in for Karma. Here in the middle, a naval push kills off the Omen class out from Curdate. Pepsi getting some ground back. Scathis up to 39% and rising. If that finishes, that could be brutal. Over here to the west, Neptune's still trying to kill off that battleship. They may be able to manage it. I think both Yasows went down. Nope, they're both still around, but they went all the way around. They're not hunting down the Atlantis, which is what they need to do. The battleship gonna kill off the first Neptune very soon. The Neptune's getting some value here. That battleship very close to dead, 225 HP. That is nothing. A third Neptune showing up. And Food Man Steve, he's sitting back here. He has advanced reclaim, but he is still just, he's in a very rough position. I feel bad for him. As over here to the west, couple of aircraft carriers. I do like the aircraft carriers, but he needs more Navy. He doesn't have enough naval units out on the field right now. And earlier he was dominating that front, but Chizza throwing everything into these T3 naval units is not getting the success he maybe would have wanted. As the Neptune's out over here for Karma, being microed very well. He's doing everything in his power to keep the one that's almost dead alive, but needs to back up because he's losing this battle due to range. And over here to the south, we have the Scathis getting very, very close to done. 75% is about to cross. It's going to turn green in 3, 2, 1. There we go. We got a green Scathis. Oh, that Scathis is going to be a huge, huge point of power here. As Pepsi is just starting to move over, he's now going to try and support Chizza, who earlier was having to try and support Foodman Steve. The Torrent classes are out. The Tempest is done. But what are they going to do about this Scathis? There's an enemy Scathis on the way. Or I shouldn't say enemy. I should just say Team 1's building a Scathis. I'm not rooting for either side here. I want to make that very clear. I'm actually, if I'm rooting for anybody, I'm rooting for this side. They have the Aeon. As Kerdate is still doing very well. He's even managing to hold on to this area down here. Does have some destroyers out doing some harassing missions. Has this Torrent class, which is doing its damnedest to just get some damage down. But over in the west, Chizza's just collapsing, showing the weakness of the Seraphim Navy here. As a bunch of Coopers just kind of roll in without a care in the world. The battleship here, it's at full HP. It should be able to fight off these Neptunes, which are all almost dead except for the newest one to arrive. But the micro out from Karma has been very good to keep every Neptune class alive. Honestly. Just look at these laser boats. Look at this laser boat. Every time I do, it makes me float. Down goes the aircraft carrier. I don't know why I've slowed it down so much. Seriously, the laser boat's been doing work for Karma. Oh, no, I accidentally... Yup, I tabbed out of the game. As the Scathis has completed, the first volley has already landed, but now comes down more volleys, and they're going down on towards Terminator. And he is going to feel the pain. Oh, his Scathis is taking some direct hits. Losing a shield there. That's a losing battle if you're losing shields. Oh no. It's pretty bad. It is pretty bad here for Terminator. Their team has been looking pretty in control, like they're doing pretty well, but it's It's not looking great with the development of that Scathis. Speaking of things that look great, though, Foodman Steve and Pepsi sitting on the highest reclaim values. Credate right behind them at 37, 22,000 and 37, 22, and 15,000 respectively. And yeah, it's looking pretty desperate. SMD goes down. Is there a nuke already built? I'm not seeing a nuke anywhere. But that is now an opening. Not that it matters, because the rest of the base went down too. Oh no. Yeah, no, it's official. It's a disaster. Terminator has basically been wiped off the map. And Pepsi just has this game ender that there's nothing really to stop it. I guess at this point your hope is Karma shows up with this the largest Neptune Navy I think I've ever seen. Along with some assistance from the other laser boats, the T2 destroyers out from Ill-Tempered, needs to get over here and needs to kill that Scathis. Or kill off a lot of these bases. Has to get aggressive with the Neptunes now. As over here to the northeast, there is, of course, more Scathis fire raining down. I would like to see this target changed to maybe onto Karma. He seems to be the actual biggest problem for their team with this overwhelming navy of Coopers and Neptunes. As the Scathis now retargeted over onto Credate. Also a good choice. Credate gaining ground down here to the south against all these Valiants. Also has the Torrent firing very well. And in comes the artillery rain. Oof. Really painful. Czar on the way. As I think that was a Control K coming out from Terminator. As Terminator complains about the map, Pepsi agrees with him despite getting the winning side of it. At least thus far. Has he lost a Neptune yet? Finally! The man loses a Neptune. As he starts pushing in. I mean, the Scathis is good, but it doesn't negate the fact that you're losing Navy right now. The Scathis can kill bases, but the Navy can do just that. Do that just as well. Credate's built a Czar as well. Has 2 Tempests out on the field. Will be a hard ask for anybody to really deal with that. Air is their only real option for dealing with this. Foodman Steve managed to build himself up to an entire battleship and then it immediately died. Born into a world of pain and suffering. As the Neptune's finally going to bear down, is Foodman Steve finally going to lose his forward stronghold? Only time will tell. And of course, on the eastern side, things still looking relatively poor for Team 2. They've really been backed into a corner. They're just relying on a Scathis and praying right now. A second Scathis queued up. The base of Credate taking a huge number, but Team 1 is still massively ahead economically. Most likely just due to the fact that they have so much more map control. Like, you have the Scathis, but now you need to hit the entire map. This map is really drawn out. There's not like large populated... This was the only large condensed section of buildings that you really had to hit with the Scathis. And now with the navies pushing in towards Pepsi's base, he has to use air to defeat this. And it's looking like he might be able to. But he's going to come in and start firing over here. We have more Pepsi's comm and Foodman Steve's comm here. They're going to start losing some fights here. These Salems may just want to go on land, honestly. Yeah, going onto land saves you from the torpedo bomber fire. But a little bit of damage is going to be done here. The Neptune's still pushing forward, pushing southwest. There's also Summit classes and another Atlantis coming out. The first Atlantis did die somewhere. Over here. Karma's built a third Atlantis, but now his base is in the sights of the Scathis. Second Scathis going up quickly. Some of the Salems managing to get onto land and fire in towards this air grid. If they can manage to kill off one or two of these power generators, it could be huge. But a shield goes up just in time to save them from that eventuality. The Neptune's coming in to try and deal damage onto Ichiza. Foodman Steve finally loses his stronghold. The Tsar out from Kurdate gonna die a little bit short of where he wanted it. The air and the artillery game going incredibly well for Team 2, but this naval game means that they're locked into a corner and they're going to be losing economically because of it. Does anybody on Team 1 still have power? Ill-Tempered is the only one who has any semblance of a power budget. It's gonna be the big problem here for everybody. They need to find a way to get more power generators. And the Scathis is gonna knock them down as quickly as they pop up. The battle cruisers over here finally going down to a bunch of Yatsows. And the naval victory that we saw earlier just seems to be faltering now. As we meander longer into this game. A second Scathis is going to finish up relatively soon. Foodman Steve sending one mass at a time to Pepsi. Using that RASCOM to the greatest extent he can. He's also trying to help by building with his own commander. Second Scath is going to finish up relatively soon. His Tempest is in a world of pain right now. Being the biggest fish in a pond, it's nice until you realize that that puts a big old target on your back. And down goes the Tempest. Is the wreck gonna sit outside the water? Wow. That's a very shallow water for a Tempest. More artillery fire now falling in towards Kurdate. The second Scathis finishing up in a matter of seconds. Ichiza, Foodman Steve, and Pepsi all have their comms huddled together on this one island. That's another Scathis complete. A large naval battle taking place, but the torpedo bombers are just getting so much value here. Atlantis gonna go down. It's been surfaced so it can fire its anti-air missiles. But the Yathzao's also starting to go down now. The Atlantis are pretty good at killing off Yathzao's. Yep, you can see that. It lost a decent amount of health for killing that one, but it's gonna do alright. More Scathis fire. The Scathises are firing at different locations. And Team 1, they have the mass income, but it just feels like their power budget is just... I mean, they have power as well. Just seems like they're struggling to get a killing blow without an air grid. And they can't really build an air grid. Maybe mass aircraft carriers is the call. But they're still trying to be aggressive and push forward. Overall reclaim numbers, Foodman Steve at 51,000. I guess you get a lot of reclaim when you don't have to micro anything. Pepsi at 23,000. Cerdate at 15,000. Double Scathis complete. It's rare that you have double Scathis and the game isn't like already decided, because I still feel like both teams could win this. Just map control is so abysmal for the Southern team. If they ever get in a situation where they can't absolutely dominate the skies, they're going to be in trouble. And the more cruisers, the more aircraft carriers that come out, the scarier this gets. In fact, I would love to see these Tempests just stop moving and spam cruisers out. It'd be a very strong play here because they can build them so quickly. Cerdate still holding on to this island is very funny to me. And the naval battles continue. Yathzao's fight a bunch of frigates. And T1 subs, actually. They like two-shot T1 subs, if I remember correctly. Yeah, they do. But the T1 subs are getting shots back. Oh no. Karma just doesn't have any build power left. That's the big thing hurting him right now. Another Tsar. I'm interested to see why he's building Tsars. He knows he doesn't have air control. Maybe if he could go for a pancake on the power grid, that could be huge, but he'd have to sneak it in, and that'd be a hard ask. There's more artillery now coming out from Cerdate. And a Soul Ripper now on the way. I don't know what's with the air experimentals. They know they don't have air. I feel like building Monkey Lords and shit would be better. Monkey Lords or GCs or Tempests if you're Cerdate. And we're going to go ahead and speed it up as we've reached a lull. There's just more Scathis fire flying across the map. And of course we have Tempest, we have Tsars, this final island is unassailable, it would seem. That's a ton of Yathzao's now coming out of the base of Chiza. He's just making so many of them. As the ever-present struggle for naval control is slowly turning in towards the favor of Team 2. Tsar has been spotted. It's going to start running away, but it's going to get one passed by all of these ASF. And with that, I'm thinking that maybe Team 1 can't manage it. Team 1 has been sitting in a, like, they've been in a strong position, don't get me wrong, it's just very difficult with no air control. And now with losing naval control, I'm not sure how they pull out of this one. The commander of Corday almost dying to Scathis fire while underwater. And Pepsi has just managed to make this double Scathis work so well for him. They've managed to catch up economically finally, as they've just slowly plinked around and killed off all of the mass resourcing options here for the enemy team. Not to mention the power. Karma built another Atlantis. This one over here to the east has multiple building at any given time. Gonna try and win this through mass Atlantis. Unfortunately, though, the Yathsaus I think are gonna win this in particular engagement. Man, that's a lot of torpedoes. As this Scathis fire is just oppressive, man. It's so oppressive. Just look at this base. Has so many shields. He built a nuke. I don't know why he built a nuke. I mean, he's just throwing shit at the wall at this point. Wait, is there no anti-nuke? Oh no, there is an anti-nuke. A lot of these Yathsaus now dying. They ran into some destroyers, and destroyers are very good at killing them off, but torpedo bombers are also very good at killing off destroyers and such. Math Yathsau now coming out from Ill-Tempered as well. Nuke subs starting to be produced by Corday. That might be one way back into it, just mass nuking. But I don't know if they have the time to make that happen. Awasa now on the way for Chiza. And Foodman Steve is just ecoing up. He's trying to get rich. He's got a get rich quick scheme going on. Oh, that's a Yelona Os! Oh man, Pepsi's just building all the game enders. And yeah, I'm just not sure. I mean, they have this really strong navy now again, but how do they get through? Nuke launched from this battleship towards the navy of Ill-Tempered and Karma. The double Scathis, how much value have each of these gotten? 588 kills and 400,000 mass killed, almost over 4,500 mass, 4,500 mass killed. Jeez. And then 122 kills and nearly 100,000 mass killed. Nuke falls. Kills off a lot of cruisers in particular, which are going to be vital for this attack that's upcoming. Soul Rippers are over here to the east, going to try and make something happen, but the second that they're shown, the second that they attack, they just die. Yep, immediately. Here comes the Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. And by the sun, I mean the ASF that are going to black out the sky. And that Yelona Os going up very, very quickly. This base is very satisfying to look at, by the way. I do enjoy it. As over here, he's trying to push back, but every time you push back over here, Chiz is just going to push right back forward.
Strategic launch detected.
Strategic launch detected. Where's that nuke going? It's going right here, but there's 5 anti-nukes loaded. It's extremely unlikely that that's ever going to work for him. Well, over here to the east, Ill-Tempered making great progress up against the Navy of Pepsi. But now the Scathis is just turned to fire on the Navy. When you have 2 Scathises, it's easy to just say, alright, just shoot the freaking Navy. Who cares? Freaking close range Scathis fire. Chiz has built his Awasa, another strategic launch detected. This one coming out from the silencer. Looks like it might be going for the ASF. Oh my lord! It got the ASF! Oh! Nice ASF donut you had there. Bro, that hurt going in. Ill-Tempered now going to try and go in with the Soul Rippers, but I'm not sure that'll matter. There's still more than enough ASF. Another nuke being launched out of this Apocalypse launcher. Is he going for the other ASF? Oh, there's still more than enough ASF to kill off the Soul Rippers. Yelona Os completes. Oh, and that might just be game. Oh, the nuke landed right there. Okay.
Strategic launch detected.
And the Yelona Os fires. And it's going up here to the northeastern corner. I think it's probably just going right here. As the Awasa has its day in the sun. And I'd like to thank you all for watching. You've been beautiful. Thank you to the channel members and Patreons, and to everybody who watched this live. These are casted live now, or most casts will be casted live. So if you want to catch this live, check it out. Just subscribe to the channel, and you will get notified whenever I go live. And you all are awesome. And thank you. This is Willow, signing off.
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, maybe you'll get sick of being the monster.